Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. We are already live on social media, and I'm hoping that you can see and you can hear me. This Inclusion Live is going to be me talking for a wee while. Well, a good wee while to be fair. So I hope I've got your attention. If I haven't, well, go and get your people. Go and get your attention. Get yourself sat down and have a listen, because I want to introduce myself. I'm Mandy-Jayne, and I'm the founder of Accessibility Partners. And can you believe that my printer is now trying to do what I tried to make it do just a few minutes ago? So please excuse that noise in the background. They are the things about live, right? So I'm the founder of Accessibility Partners, and that's a company in the UK. I'm a Senko. I'm an Elenco. That's a special educational needs coordinator, or an additional learning needs and education coordinator if you're in Wales, and I am. I am also therapeutically trained, and I'm in Wales because I am further training as a social worker. For those trained in social work, you'll be aware I can't call myself a social worker without first stating that I'm a trainee, and this prevents anyone getting into trouble, and we don't want to do that. So, what else about me? Well, I'm disabled. I've got duplex kidneys. I should have been a twin. That's a congenital disorder. I have stage 4 endometriosis. It's a medical condition that grows where the endometrial lining tissue grows outside of the uterus. That causes all sorts of inflammation and problems, and needs hormone therapies and complex surgical interventions, lots and lots of things. And actually, it doesn't matter what stage you've got, there's a massive amount of pain and difficulty that comes from that. And then I've experienced multiple organ failure. That's when the malfunction of 2 or more organs in the system happens, and that's life-threatening, and it certainly threatened my life. In fact, during COVID, I contracted double pneumonia and double pleurisy, and I was intubated during 2019, and a do not artificially resuscitate order was put upon me, and it took a great many doctors to find a compassionate one. I experienced both rheumatoid arthritis, which is an autoimmune disease that attacks my joints, and osteoarthritis, which is a degenerative condition which affects cartilage in certain used joints, like my knees and my hips and my shoulders and my ankles, my feet and my toes and my hands and my wrists. I'm diagnosed, and I have been since my 30s, as neurodivergent. Neurodivergence is a variation in brain development, and it regards and sometimes impacts depending. You meet one autistic person, says Simon Baron Cohen of the Autism Research Centre down in Cambridge, a great man with a great family, regarding our sociability, learning, attention, and lots of other mental functions. It also includes the phrase neurodivergence with conditions like ADHD and autism and dyslexia, and it's seen as a natural variation rather than a disorder or a deficiency, neurodivergent. So, welcome to the first Inclusion Live on a Monday afternoon. Monday is my day without coaching or any learning, official face-to-face learning. And so I'm hoping that these lives can help me on a Monday. And I hope I can relax enough in this space to make it my home. I've heard that it gets more comfortable the more you do. Certainly going to the gym gets more comfortable every time I do that, and eating well and drinking well. And I'll just take a sip of water. Making good choices takes some practice, and I'm interested to see how this works, how I can settle down. And I'd like you to settle down and relax for a while, the way you've done already this morning, wherever you are viewing this from. We will see. So what we're doing here this afternoon, well, we're launching Inclusion Live in this space. It's being developed because it's time. Actually, it's way overdue. 25 years overdue, to be fair. It's taken me 25 years, a quarter of a century, I'm showing my age now, to learn to navigate this inaccessible world to some extent. I definitely identify with my disability being part of my identity. I am disabled. I remember telling my professor at university that I was differently abled, and I was asked to agree in a tutorial actually by phone that I would not call myself differently able, because he informed me that whilst society was disabling me, well, Mandy-Jayne, come on, MJ, you should call yourself disabled. Don't let them get away with it, he said. This was around 2003, and he certainly was somebody of probably around my age. So he'd been seeing the 70s as the birthplace of the disability rights movement as we moved into a rights-based approach. Although you wouldn't think that at 2023. The Disability Discrimination Act was first passed in 1995, and it's 2023. So to be fair, in those 25 years, I've been expecting some further developments a little bit faster than perhaps we've had, especially when our legislation doesn't pass muster when it comes to upholding my human rights. But in Germany and other places, one would imagine that we have inclusion. But when it comes to disability, my friend tells me that she cannot access accessible toilets in Germany because the concept of a reasonable adjustment just doesn't exist yet. So, although I'm grateful for the DDA, it wasn't a gift from the non-disabled community. It was hard won. It was won through a rights-based approach by disabled people, but it was terribly weakened through the parliamentary process. And of course, I'm grateful to my professor for pointing out it was my human right, not an addendum to the idea of inclusion, but it would also appear that that fight is far, far from over. So today, I wanted to introduce myself, bring a little bit of my personality, my attitude, my demeanour to this environment. These lives are a big deal for me. I'm not used to this, and I certainly don't feel inside my comfort zone yet. But then again, a great coach once told me that nothing grows in your comfort zone. So I'll assume I'm growing and growing and growing here in this space. So I'm Mandy-Jayne. I'm known as many things. MJ, Mandy-Jayne, Mum, Mama, Mandy. I do know my name is often incorrectly spoken. I was known at school as Mandy. I never liked it. And he always requested otherwise, which is interesting because it was no more thought about as important than the toilet on the train being accessible was thought about, or the tube stations without the lifts currently, even though there's lift shafts there. My name was just like my disability status. It was not enshrined in law in my early life. When I was birthed, it was not even considered until the trans agenda came to the fore. So even my name was othered. Othering is a concept that we can go into much later in this series, but it does remain unsafe for individuals to take corporate discriminations in terms of goods and services to court. And we know that. We know that because there's a dearth of legal action in relation to such high levels of discrimination and exclusionary behaviour and attitudes. So I'm Mandy-Jayne. We got my name done. Well done. We're going to get deeper into this subject. And I identify and I'm diagnosed as disabled. Another important point for later. I'm diagnosed as disabled. We need diagnosis at the moment. Everything is held behind the diagnostic criteria. That's another story for another day. Now, being disabled and referring to myself as differently able didn't sit well with my professor. But for me at the time, I felt aggrieved that I wasn't allowed to refer to myself as whatever I wanted. And for a while, I tolerated this, but it was so uncomfortable. Eventually, I left that lecturer's module. Later, I only have to undertake another module at postgraduate qualification to complete that disability studies module, where I would learn about the subject of being othered, the idea my professor had tried to allude to, but he'd spelled it out much earlier in my career, and it had fallen on deaf ears, for want of a better phrase. But now I've been through this mess in the middle, as I like to refer to it. I refer to the mess in the middle as SEND school and college, and the system for my clients, my students, and later on, my offspring, oftentimes. What othering is a socio-psychological, is the socio-psychological means by which I'm labelled, how I'm labelled as different or inferior, to create a distinction between me, them and us. And that can continue those systematic inequalities and that frustration my professor felt when he insisted that I did call myself disabled. It leads me, ironically, to leave his class, as I just didn't have any personal agency. I was still very much oppressed. I had little or no voice. I didn't have the freedom of the understanding that standing up metaphorically for my rights, because I'm a wheelchair user, was something that if I didn't do, then I certainly would have to do later on. That later is now, of course, 2 decades later. I just can't actually believe that we're still talking about inclusion without it's like a foregone conclusion. Well, now it's time. I feel it's time to speak up for myself. I feel it's important that people get to see and hear and start to make friends with me, with my voice, with my narrative, with my learning output, because it's here to stay now. And this flow that I've been building towards is the algorithm of my life now. Aggregated effort, accumulating into a flow of energy bigger than anyone could have predicted, just as inclusion is. Inclusion, in case you aren't aware, is the global pandemic that you will be part of. It's inevitable now. My life, it's going to be way beyond my life has been, and that it will come to fruition, but it's a long, hard road. And currently we're sitting in a crisis in the middle of the UK. We were created, Accessibility Partners was created for the Access to Work programme in the UK. And that programme is to meet the needs of disabled people in terms of equipment and support and coaching and assistive technology and travel, helping them to get equal access to work. Well, when you or I apply, it can take anything from 1 day to a year for access to work to respond even. This is better than 14 months ago when that's how long it took for them to arrive to my job. It just felt like nobody cared and nobody was coming. In fact, we can get onto that in a moment, because I'm going to tell you who I serve and what I do and why I do that. So, I'm Mandy-Jayne. I'm an Elenco, a Senko, a psychotherapist and trainee social worker in Wales. Well done, Mandy-Jayne. You got your name done. I have developed Accessibility Partners, and we believe that we are a system that is available to those in the UK to meet their disability equality duty. Now, we also have a fund, and I am going to just lead you through that now, because this is, here we go, this is our application website. This is the information website. We are shortly to relaunch. We have somebody else doing that for me, because I just can't do everything. Well, our team is growing, and certainly it was a quick, this is who we are, but that's being redeveloped. We're going to have a new website very soon. But if you want to contact us, and I'm going to suggest why you do in a minute, then you can see our website at the bottom there. It's www. Number 2, that's the number, numerical 2, w.me. That's Access to Work Me. And I would like you, if you have a disability and you don't know about whether you are entitled to access to work, whether you even know how to go into work, whether you are interested in starting a business, whether you have a passion, something that you know you can do, and if only you knew the way to safely start earning a little bit of money, just a bit more and a bit more and a bit more, until eventually you no longer have to claim those welfare benefits necessarily. Not that some people will come off them, but certainly those means tested benefits, there is a way through. And we believe that coming to us is not just the right way to go about it, it's the only way to go about it. So I am the founder of Accessibility Partners and Inclusion, and Inclusion can be found there. Now, if you want to be a member of Inclusion, you don't have to be immediately thinking about paid work, but you might be thinking about volunteering. Or it could be that you are in receipt of the highest rate of PIP, personal independence payment, mobility and care, and that you are thinking about doing a course of educational training or some therapeutic work, so some voluntary work. And if you do, or if you just want to come together and become a voice for inclusion, we're going to have some further activism and training on activism, training on our rights and our opportunities for activism. And also we have socials and rooms on Clubhouse. We have a Zoom channel where we meet every week for training, and we are meeting at 7 o'clock tonight. I know the team is without me because I'm in a different coaching session, unfortunately, but the team is certainly running their Zoom tonight at 7 o'clock and inclusion on Clubhouse at 7 as well. So 7 and 7:30, I think the times are. So please do get in touch on the inclusion website. And as I said, we have some exciting news, because over the last 2 years, I have been raising funds, first of all for a hand cycle, so that I could get fitter. And indeed, if you look back on my Instagram, you'll see the journey of these last nearly 3 years now, as I've recovered from multiple organ failure and my intubation for all those weeks in York District, my do not artificially resuscitate and getting off oxygen, something they said I never would, but as you can see, I certainly have. So this 3 years journey has been documented and will be further documented on LinkedIn. But over the last 2 years, I've been running some fundraisers, and the first one got me a hand cycle, and I paid half. And the great people of Clubhouse and all of you people that follow me on LinkedIn, so grateful that you donated, something that I was encouraged to do by some very powerful ladies who began really in a coaching room. And I certainly have a team of coaches around me now, and I don't understand how anyone manages without a coach or a therapist. I'm quite well supported, and I think it shows. So remember that I've been raising funds. Once I got this bike, I realised that I didn't have a cat in hell's chance of riding it. I rode around the block, and I've got a very small cul-de-sac in Scarborough where I cycled round. The first time I managed to get onto the seafront, I needed to be pushed back by somebody up the hill, because I couldn't actually get my hands over and up the hill, because I had to really build some muscles to do that. And it took 2 years, and it sculpted me 4 stone lighter and very, very much stronger. And that's good, because my joints are hyperflexive and they come in and out. And any stability in my joints is incredibly good. So a hand cycle is a way forward. So I got this hand cycle, and then I opened what we call the Disabled Ultrapreneurs Club. Now, the reason we did that, and I hope you're still with me, the reason we did that is because last Christmas in inclusion, Father Christmas came in. No, he did. And if you want to go and listen back to that, I might post it later as we're coming up to Christmas. I might post clips from that room. Father Christmas turned up in inclusion on Clubhouse. And he said Santa Claus, and he looked like Santa Claus, and he sounded like Santa Claus, and it was almost Christmas. It was the end of November. We'd opened Christmas early in Clubhouse because we had the intention of coming towards this Christmas with this fundraiser to reach this point, and we are nearly there, and still 2.5 months away. I think that's 10 weeks, 9 weeks to Christmas now. And my intention and my request to Father Christmas was, my wish for Father Christmas was that I could create the Disabled Ultrapreneurs Club, and that we would create 100 disabled entrepreneurs between then and Christmas, this coming Christmas. And guys, we already have. We have those 100 disabled entrepreneurs. That's a disabled person going into workfulness through self-employment and running their own business, their own company. We are probably already smashing that number. Wonderful, you say? Wonderful. It is. It's incredible. And we've done that through the Access to Work program. We've done that by lifting the 1 in 5, by increasing their workfulness. And many of them have already made their minimum income guarantee themselves, which is the lower earnings limit of nearly £7,000. And if they don't make that, then they don't continue receiving access to work. And for somebody that's blind, they can't actually go anywhere without being guided. Then they need a sighted guide. If you have somebody who is hard of hearing or deaf or deafened, hearing loss, then they will need to sign it, etc. You can't just stop it and workfulness continue. So For those people for whom building that income in the first year is too challenging, particularly if access to work takes a year, we opened a fund. And I hoped that in this year I would be able to train long enough and hard enough and be organised enough to begin and cycle a half marathon. However, as I started training, I realised that a half marathon sounded a bit weak for me. Believe me, at the beginning, I never thought it was possible, but I turned it to a marathon. And indeed, it got even longer because when Pete Cohen came along to video me, and if you go and have a look in Instagram, you'll find the video there, which has been played a few thousand times now. Then you'll see that I went round, and actually he decided that it should be not just 364 times round, which is what we worked out a marathon was, but 365. So one for every day of the year. He does run the MI365 program, of which I am part. So that was very funny. And he was wonderful enough to come along free of charge and be there all day with us, comparing and supporting and bringing help with him. And I want to say thank you to Louis for coming and doing that fantastic filming. I think he'll probably want to receive some of this footage rather than it just be a boring me going on and on and on. Maybe he can cut some up and edit it for me. So he came along and I smashed a marathon, a hand cycle marathon. My shoulder hurt very badly in the last 60 laps, but we got the fund to over £6,500. Now that is almost the minimum income guarantee for our first funded disabled entrepreneur, and I wish to crown that person before or during or after Christmas, whenever we get there. And you could make this happen on Christmas Day, couldn't you? We could be crowning our first disabled entrepreneur on Christmas Day, an ultrapreneur, because they're not just entrepreneurs, are they? They're ultra, because they have had to work twice as hard, further, longer, stronger, faster, and greater than anyone without disabilities. So the fund is nearly there. To donate, we need to go to the GoFundMe. We need to go and share it with anyone that's interested in workfulness. Now, the exciting thing is this. For those of you that want to be in for a chance, there's going to be an application form. We need applications. We need applications and details. We need your 100 number. That's your access to work application number. And you need to have made an application for access to work with us here at, where are we? Let's find the right one. See if I can find it. There. So please go, and if you haven't already, if you're not already one of our over 150 clients that are live on our books at the moment, then please, if you are not, then go there and book yourself, make a referral, and then book yourself an appointment to make your application now. If you make your application now, we have been told that Access to Work's aim is to get through the backlog by Christmas. So not only could you be in the chance in the running for being the first disabled entrepreneur to be crowned and funded the lower earnings limit into their bank account, but you'll also then receive coaching with one of our strategy coaches, and you will certainly meet me for your first strategy coaching session for the months leading to Access to Work coming to get you. And I don't mean get you, but give you everything that you need with our guidance and support for Access to Work to be granted. And Access to Work is a grant that can be awarded up to, and that's our most severely disabled people in the world, up to 66,000. And they are our most severely affected individuals. But, you know, the fund is there for everyone, neurodivergent, mental health problems, you name it, physical challenges, wheelchair users. We can access a range of support and help, including our strategy coaching, personal mobility devices, a range of equipment and adaptations and technology, adjustable desks and chairs, solutions, whatever solution that we can formulate to help your workfulness, because paying tax is important. And when we actually pay tax, then society just functions much, much better. And for every pound that Access to Work spends, there's another, I think, 67 pence on top of that gets put into the public coffers from the workfulness that's created. So Access to Work is a programme, and the government are going to see it as their flagship. And if you make an Access to Work application with us, and you are destined to be self-employed or a business owner, and you have a business idea that you want to showcase with us, we're going to be taking those applications, and then we're going to create a panel of judges and bring a selection of candidates online and to showcase just how fantabulous we all are. And we have some stories to tell. So you have been with me today in Inclusion, and I've been explaining to you in this Inclusion Live, and we're going to finish on the 30 minutes of us on this Monday afternoon in October, on the 23rd of the 10th, 23, that you can go and apply, put in a request, say what you'd like to say, and what you're asking for, which is information about the Access to Work programme. For those of you that don't know about it, you will be invited to a webinar where you can join together with other people and hear some stories of inclusion success and of accessibility partners, customers, and workers. And we are recruiting. We're also recruiting for specialist coaches, and we're going to be training you in the lifespan planning way of inclusion and accessibility partners. So don't miss that. On LinkedIn, there is an advert there for our strategy coaches for accessibility partners. So we are very excited to say that we are nearly at the first Disabled Ultrapreneur. We will be crowning that Disabled Ultrapreneur, I believe, over Christmas, on Christmas Day, who knows yet. Let's make it as quick as possible, and let's make this the greatest event. And that Disabled Ultrapreneur will have gone through a selection process, and they must have had a live or existing Access to Work program for self-application, for self-employment with us, in order to be in for the running. And what an exciting opportunity. So please, Inclusion is going to be here regularly. Look out on my social medias. We'll be popping up everywhere that you can think, and probably on the news at 10. Certainly will be in number 10. That won't be long. And 10, of course, is the month. And quite alchemically, 10 means leadership and of taking opportunities. So if you want to take an opportunity today, then please make an inquiry on number2w.me and start that journey for Access to Work, because you could become the first Disabled Ultrapreneur to be funded in the UK to meet the lower earnings limit for Access to Work, because we believe that the fact that that person, if they don't make that lower earnings limit, is then barred for 5 years from having Access to Work, and their Access to Work is stopped, is in fact criminal. And we would like to see that stop. So if we fund that gap, maybe the government will realise that that gap needs funding. And we want to do that hundreds and hundreds and thousands and millions and trillions of time, until every disabled person has the opportunity to access workfulness the way that we all should. Because, you know, it's a human right. It's a rights-based approach, and it's a human given to have occupation in our life, because occupational health is gained when workfulness is noticed to be possible. So I am very grateful for your attention. We are almost at the past. I'm going to say goodbye. And please remember that inclusion is a foregone conclusion. We now have a future where inclusion is the only global pandemic that you want to be part of. And it's certainly one that we are getting on the train for. And just saying about that, we will be getting on the train, because if I have my way, then you know what's going to happen, don't you? The underground is going to become accessible. So I am Mandy-Jayne. I'm founder of Accessibility Partners. We would like to partner with you. If you are a corporate and you need a disability, accessibility and inclusion assessment, then bring us along, because we are the most real people you will ever meet. 80% of us are individuals with lived experience, and we can bring a je ne sais quoi to your organization, an inclusive demeanor, an inclusive culture, inclusion from the bottom up and the top down, as we deal with the mess in the middle that nobody else can. We are one of a kind, and I'm one of a kind. I'm Mandy-Jayne Lace, and I am founder and director of Accessibility Partners and Inclusion. And Inclusion is a cohort of disabled people fighting for disabled people's rights. And if you want to join that, then don't forget, then pop along to inclusion.me. I'm very excited. I can't wait to see you there. I can't wait to see the next seminar. And if you go there and make an inquiry, remember, you can be on that next seminar. And don't forget the GoFundMe. If we can get that GoFundMe over that mark, then I will be celebrating and we will be having a party. And Father Christmas can come back to Clubhouse this Christmas and show me that he was right, that that was a gift that he granted me. And I think I also granted it myself as I train towards that hand cycle marathon. And that's what strategy coaching can do for you. Coaching of all kinds and involvement in inclusion can really help you focus on your health and well-being, your work and your relationships, and all those other well-being things that help us just do better. So have a great week. I will be on LinkedIn on Saturday morning in Belonging in Business, where we bring the important agendas, the important subjects and agendas to the table, because in LinkedIn, everybody, in LinkedIn, in Belonging in Business, everybody has a seat at the table. And somebody said, just to close the other day, if they don't provide a seat at the table, bring a folding chair, but I bring my own wheelchair. We need to make sure that every table is ready for everybody, for society to reflect society. For that, we need to make disabled entrepreneurs. For that, we need you to go and share that fundraiser, and then we can go and create those disabled entrepreneurs. And if you want to register, then register on there. So that's me done. Have a great day. I'm very, very grateful. Take care.